Good morning and a very warm welcome to the News at 10 on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. I am Rhoda Anonam.
And I'm Comfort Amodo. Thanks for joining us. With agro
by the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning in the coming days.
Happy birthday.
The budget signing ceremony coincided with President Buhari's 77th birthday, and therefore invited guests could not help celebrating him.
For he is a jolly good fellow.
Everybody understands the implication of having a budget that is predictable. That tells you that our economy is going to receive a boost, an injection that will see more businesses, more employment opportunities. And of course, we also believe that this is one process that will also support the private sector so well.
There's a synergy between the executive and the legislature like never before. Many are want to criticize that. We believe that we will continue to do what we need to do as a legislature, and the executive will do what they're doing. And the harmony that is between the two, guess who benefits? It's not us, it's not the executive, it's the Nigerian people.
Senate President Ahmed Lawan and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, had earlier presented a joint birthday card to the President with a promise to support his genuine efforts at taking Nigeria to the next level. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Buhari Media Organization has described the quick passage of the 2020 budget proposal by the National Assembly and subsequent assent by President Muhammadu Buhari as an indication of the progressive's leadership evolving under the present administration. The media organization, in a statement signed by its chairman, Niyi Akinsiju, says the development will bring about a lot of gains for the country from both within and outside Nigeria, expecting that the development partners will align their projects, plans and programs with the new budget cycle. The group also noted that in some aspects of the budget where there were additions or subtractions by the legislators were meant to add value and complement the work of the executive with a view to achieving the intended objectives for the benefit of all Nigerians.
And Nigerians have been applauding President Muhammadu Buhari and the 9th National Assembly for the speedy passage and signing of the 2020 budget as a welcome development as it returns the country to the January and December budget cycle. Speaking on NTA Current Affairs program Nigeria Today, Dr. Emeka Okengu, a development economist, noted that the new budget calendar year is very feasible and should continue that way for better implementation of the budget.
You must be able to have that synergy, that point where, states, the subnationals must be able to now, align with the expectations, of the national budgeting for two reasons. Reason number one is that the federal government owns little or no land. Okay? The second reason is that everybody, who lives in Nigeria, including the president himself, lives in a local government area. He lives in Amak. So the local government areas must become that point of takeoff. Meaning that in planning whatever budget you're planning, in planning whatever infrastructure you're planning, in planning whatever program you're planning it on three basic, frontiers. One, your human capital. Two, your natural resources. And three, your technologies. The moment you align these two, that's the difference between poor and rich states.
Public affairs analysts noted that though Nigerians are very impressed about the early signing of the budget, early implementation of the budget is also important.
Budget is something that we should all be excited about. Like you rightly pointed out, we're returning to a January-December budget cycle. But more fundamentally, Nigerians would love to see timely releases of, the budgeted funds. Our budget performance over the years has not, I don't think we have gone beyond the 40% threshold. So one would like to see a situation where we'll go beyond 40% and, get to particularly what Emeka refers to as capital projects and see how that can then become an engine for growth and development in our country.
Nigeria Today airs weekdays at 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. While the federal government says it remains committed and focused on finding sustainable ways of financing Nigerians' immunization and vaccination obligations.
President Muhammadu Buhari gave the assurance while receiving in audience members of the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization. State Task Correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the president also welcomed Hyundai's company proposal to set up assembly plant in Nigeria.
President Muhammadu Buhari said the various physical and security challenges experienced by Nigeria have hindered the country's ability to fully meet its financial obligations on vaccines by the year 2021 as planned. He thanked Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization for its over $1 billion support to Nigeria since 2001, especially through the provision of vaccines to millions of people across the country. The president described as pleasing that Gavi has not only extended its co-financing support period from 2021 to 2028, but also committed over $3 billion in new funding for vaccines, cold chain infrastructure, and strengthening of health system across the country. President Buhari pledged that the federal government would continue to provide counterpart funds as well as strategies to gradually improve fiscal sustainability by the year 2028. Dr. Seth Beckley commended Nigeria for the significant increase in national immunization coverage between 2016 and now through excellent interministerial collaboration. He urged state governments to invest in vaccination and immunization, adding that poverty reduction must equally be a goal in the country. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has restated Nigeria's resolve to collaborate with and support Hyundai Engineering Company to set up a car plant and also rehabilitate the nation's petroleum refineries. The president made this known while receiving the president and chief executive officer of the company, Mr. Chang Hakim. He said Nigeria is also committed to ensuring energy security in the country with a goal of achieving self-sufficiency in the supply of petroleum products within the next 3 years. President Buhari, who welcomed the proposal to set up Hyundai car plant in the country, pledged to make the investment a reality. Mr. Hakim said Hyundai Engineering Company, which hires about 15,000 engineers and technical staff globally, is willing to contribute to the development of the Nigerian economy. The company, with a record of building refineries worldwide, has its biggest plant in South Korea with a capacity of 650,000 barrels per day. Hyundai says it will be glad to contribute its quota to the growth of Nigeria's economy. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
And now to stories in the financial sector. Nigerians' inflation rises to its highest level since May 2018. Let's join Kunle Adeyeyu for details.
The rate rose to 11.85% in November, which is the highest since May 2018. A report by the National Bureau of Statistics indicates that the Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation, increased by 11.85% year-on-year in November 2019. This is 0.24% points higher than the 11.21% rate recorded in October 2019. Composite Food Index went up by 14.48% in November 2019 as against 14.09% in October 2019. The rise in food index is attributed to increase in prices of bread, cereals, oil, and tubers. And the equities market on Tuesday closed on a positive note as Nigeria Stock Exchange All-Share Index appreciated by plus 0.60% to close at 26,695.18 points as against minus 0.13% depreciation recorded previously. Business News. I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
The Edo State government has officially launched the Edo State All Palm program worth 68 billion naira. Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, launched the intervention program aimed at revamping the oil palm sector for global competitiveness.
Capacity to revamp into the country.
By placing palm oil on the exclusion list, we have seen prosperity in a rural community because jobs have been created, because industries have come alive again. The companies are profitable again. That is what I call the benefit of our FX restriction on.
You're watching the news at 10 on the network service of the NTA, reaching you live from Abuja. We take a break, and when we return, Senate to invite Interior Minister on conditions for federal government's visa on arrival policy. You're welcome back. Now, the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning has launched an electronic records management platform for the tracking of incoming and outgoing mails and letters from and to the ministry.
The Minister, Zainab Ahmed, says the initiative was born out of the present administration's desire to enhance efficiency and effectiveness in service delivery, promotion of interagency synergy, as well as the fight against corruption. Leah Katun Babatunde has the rest of the story.
The civil service is the engine room of any government. Administrations come and go, but the civil service remains. From time immemorial, government correspondence and transactions are often carried out manually with hard copies that could get corrupted or damaged in transit. Government transactions since the inception of this administration has, however, been undergoing reforms to enhance transparency and improve service delivery. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, who was represented by the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, Dr. Mahmoud Issa Dutse, noted that the launch was in furtherance of government's commitment to digitize all platforms. Following the launch of e-Government Master Plan, key operations in public service are now being implemented and will help government to save costs and fight corruption.
It's my profound desire to create a paperless ministry with an end-to-end automation of all the administrative processes.
The Permanent Secretary's Special Duties in the Ministry, Dr. Mohammed Dikwa, expressed optimism that when the system is fully deployed, it would enhance quality assurance in government transactions.
The world is now moving to what we call artificial intelligence. The human intelligence are being gradually fade off. Everything must be electronic so that at the end of the day, at the fingertip, you can get the information that one wants it.
Staff of the ministry are expected to be trained to ensure the success of the initiative. In Abuja, Leah Katung Babatunde, NTA News.
And the private sector in Nigeria is receiving a boost from the federal government on domestication of technologies to enhance economic growth and create jobs. The latest been a signing of a memorandum of understanding between the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology and Agro-Allied Green Technology Resource Center to enter into profitable and viable agro-allied industries support program across the country. The MOU between the ministry and the organization is to extend technology support programs to other sectors of the economy like public and private sectors in the production of cosmetics at national and sub-national levels. For the ministry, this initiative is targeted at alleviating poverty, creating employment and generating wealth, especially for youth, through public-private partnership that will see a transfer of domestication of technologies
and support the growth of our local industries and markets. Today, the signing of this MOU is in view of the numerous benefits to be derived from the collaboration between the ministry, some of its agencies, and Nigeria at large. There is no gainsaying that Nigeria is on the right path to food security and economic growth.
And I've argued this and I keep arguing it. Our nation can only develop with technology. It is not possible for you to get into food security without technology. It is not possible for you to have national security without technology. Technology is at the heart of everything that we want to do.
The presidential nominee for the chairmanship of the Federal Inland Revenue Service Board, Mohammed Nami, says he is determined to collaborate with other board members to effect desirable results in the areas of tax collection and management.
This was his remark at his screening exercise by the Senate Committee on Finance, alongside 11 other board membership nominees. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu reports.
Before the Senate Committee is a chartered forensic investigation professional, Mohammed Nami, who is also an associate member of the Institute of Debt Recovery Practitioners of Nigeria and Association of National Accountants of Nigeria. The board chairman nominee said his focus will remain on ethics to drive the country's tax administration forward and ensure the taxpayers are getting value for their money.
I'm lucky to have a very rich team, particularly the board members, some of them that have practiced taxation accounting for over 40 years. And we'll leverage on that, and we'll sure that we attend to issues as
African limits.
The president stated this while exchanging views with the High Commissioner of South Africa to Nigeria. State House correspondent Adam Musamba reports.
The new South African envoy, T.D. Mseleku, was in the State House to present his letters of credence to President Muhammadu Buhari to formally assume duty in Nigeria. President Buhari said the 27 years imprisonment of the former South African president, the humility and broad-mindedness in serving the nation as a citizen and president, as well as his willingness to discontinue after one term in office, work hard to ensure that all issues discussed by President Buhari and President Ramaphosa were followed through and implemented. President Buhari also received letters of credence from the new ambassador of Thailand to Nigeria. He assured the new envoy that the trade relations between both countries will be improved, especially in agriculture, saying Nigeria looks forward to a stronger relations in critical economic sectors. The Thai's ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. Saksi Promiyoti, said Nigeria was one of the highest importers of rice from Thailand until a policy change that had made the country more food sufficient. Mr. Promiyoti said his country will continue to work with Nigeria to improve technical capacity and expertise in the agricultural sector. Nigeria and Thailand have had long-time diplomatic relations spanning over 57 years. Similarly, the new Dutch ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. Harry van Dijk, was also in the State House to present his letters of credence to the Nigerian leader. President Buhari assured the envoy that the diplomatic and economic relations between Nigeria and the Netherlands will be improved. The Dutch ambassador, Mr. Van Dijk, told the president that His Majesty King William Alexander and Prime Minister Mark Rutte will continue to hold Nigeria in high regard for the warm diplomatic relations over the years, as well as the hospitality accorded the Prime Minister during his visit to the country. He promised to make sure that all agreements are followed up. The ambassador described as a blessing that a roadmap for implementation has been carved out during their discussions. The three new envoys who congratulated President Muhammadu Buhari on his 77th birthday were all treated to a befitting diplomatic welcome on arrival at the forecourt of the presidential villa. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
You're watching the news at 10 on NTA Network Service. We'll take a break now, and when we come back, we have more reports. Stay with us.
Information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.